Have you ever stopped to think about why some foods seem to carry an almost mystical significance? Why do certain dishes, flavors, or ingredients evoke such strong emotions or memories, almost as if they are more than just fuel for our bodies? These aren't just your average meals. They're imbued with meaning, symbolism, and history that reach far beyond the dinner table. For example, consider the foods that have become sacred in various cultures, whether it's the bread and wine used in religious rituals, or the symbolic importance of rice in many Asian cultures. The question isn't just about what we eat, but why we eat what we do, and how the stories tied to those foods have influenced generations of people. Our relationship with food isn't just shaped by taste or necessity, it's also deeply rooted in the myths and legends passed down through centuries. Take, for example, the ancient myths of Greece, where food was intertwined with the gods themselves. The gods of Mount Olympus were believed to consume ambrosia, a divine food that bestowed immortality, setting food on a pedestal as something beyond earthly sustenance. In India, the vibrant folklore surrounding food often involves gods and demons, as seen in the story of the Amrit, or nectar of immortality, which was said to grant divine power when consumed. But this goes even deeper. These stories and myths have woven themselves into our very psyche. They've influenced how we perceive food, not just as something to eat, but as a symbol of power, spirituality, and sometimes even morality. These myths shape the way we think about the food we eat today, from the ritual of breaking bread to the traditions surrounding feasts and celebrations. In fact, the foods we cherish today are often linked to these powerful stories from the past. It's not just about hunger or nourishment, it's about connecting with something much bigger than ourselves. So, what if the foods we choose to eat, or the dishes we hold dear, are influenced not only by taste, but by the deep-rooted psychological power of these ancient myths? Let's explore how these timeless stories have shaped the food culture we know today. Food is far more than a means of survival. It's an expression of culture, identity, and, in many cases, spiritual belief. When we sit down to a meal, we're not just feeding our bodies, we're participating in rituals that stretch back thousands of years, many of which are rooted in mythology. Across the globe, ancient stories have been used to explain the origins of food, its sacredness, and even its moral implications. These aren't just tales told for entertainment. They are blueprints of belief systems that have helped civilizations make sense of the natural world and their place within it. Consider how early societies viewed the harvest, not merely as a result of agricultural skill, but as a divine gift. The idea that gods and goddesses were responsible for the abundance, or absence, of food was deeply embedded in the cultural psyche. In Greek mythology, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, was not only revered for teaching mankind how to cultivate the land, but also feared, as her grief could bring famine. Her story wasn't just about growing crops. It was a reminder of the delicate balance between human survival and divine favor. Then there are the powerful metaphors hidden within stories of forbidden fruits and mystical meals. These aren't just cautionary tales, they are symbolic narratives that speak to human curiosity, desire, temptation, and consequence. The biblical tale of Adam and Eve, for instance, has imprinted on us the idea that eating can be a moral act, capable of invoking both sin and enlightenment. Food becomes more than a sensory experience. It becomes a vessel of values, lessons, and psychological resonance. So, in today's exploration, we're peeling back the layers of these ancient tales to better understand how mythology has sculpted the way we interact with food. How do these myths influence what we celebrate, what we avoid, and what we treasure at the table? As we unpack the stories tied to the foods we eat, we begin to see that every bite we take carries echoes of our ancestors' beliefs, fears, and hopes. Through this journey, we'll uncover not just the history of food, but the mythology that still seasons every meal with meaning. Take a moment and really think about your favorite dish, the one that brings you comfort, joy, or maybe even a sense of nostalgia. Is it your grandmother's homemade stew, festival sweet you only eat once a year. Or maybe it's a simple dish with roots that go deeper than you realized. What makes it special? Is it the flavor, the memory attached to it, or the tradition it represents? Now ask yourself this: does that dish carry a story? Perhaps a family legend passed down over generations, or a cultural tale that gives it significance beyond just the ingredients on the plate. Many of us eat foods that come with silent stories, narratives we may have never questioned. For some, it's the ritual of eating a certain meal during a religious holiday that stems from ancient traditions or mythological beliefs. For others, it's a dish tied to heritage and identity, connecting them to ancestors through taste. Whether it's something as globally recognized as mooncakes during the Mid-Autumn Festival, or as personal as a bread recipe passed down with whispered superstitions, these foods often hold layers of meaning that go unspoken. So I want to hear from you. What's that one dish in your life that's more than just food? Does it connect you to your roots, your beliefs, or maybe even a myth you grew up hearing? Drop a comment below and share your story. Whether it's something deeply personal, or a cultural tale you've always found fascinating, your experience adds flavor to this conversation. Let's create a table of shared stories, one bite of mythology at a time. Let's begin our journey with perhaps one of the most powerful and enduring food myths of all time, the story of the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. While the Bible never actually specifies the type of fruit, centuries of Western art and storytelling have immortalized it as an apple, turning this humble fruit into a universal symbol of temptation. But the apple was never just about sin or disobedience. It was a stand-in for something far more complex: knowledge, power, and consequence. When Eve reached out for that fruit, she wasn't just making a snack choice. She was engaging in an act that would alter the fate of humanity. This myth has deeply embedded itself into our collective psyche, teaching us that food can be a gateway, not just to nourishment, but to transformation, punishment, and revelation. And think about what that myth implies: that eating the wrong thing can open the doors to awareness, for better or worse. It's no coincidence that many modern diet trends, food taboos, and even the way we moralize indulgence, cheat days, guilty pleasures, can be traced back to this archetype. The story reinforces the idea that food choices are not neutral. They are loaded with emotional and psychological weight. Eating becomes an act that can carry shame, guilt, or enlightenment. In a sense, the myth of the forbidden fruit set the tone for how Western society views the intersection of appetite, morality, and consequence. Now let's cross over to ancient Greece, where food was not merely a resource, but a divine gift, personified through gods and goddesses. Demeter, the revered goddess of the harvest, was more than just a deity. She was the embodiment of agriculture, the bringer of crops, and the teacher of cultivation. According to myth, it was Demeter who taught humanity how to grow grain, harvest the fields, and prepare food, turning survival into civilization. But her story takes a haunting turn with the tale of her daughter, Persephone, who was abducted by Hades and taken to the underworld. In her grief, Demeter allowed the earth to grow barren, symbolizing winter. Only when Persephone returned to the surface for part of the year did Demeter's joy restore fertility to the land, marking the arrival of spring. This myth wasn't just a poetic explanation for the changing seasons. It gave rise to rituals, festivals, and a deeper understanding of food as cyclical and sacred. The idea that the land dies and is reborn mirrors our own experience of planting, growing, harvesting, and preparing food. These stories have echoed through time, influencing everything from ancient harvest ceremonies to modern celebrations, like Thanksgiving, a time when we pause to honor abundance, gather in gratitude, and reflect on the seasonal nature of food. So when we bite into an apple, or sit down to a fall feast, we're not just participating in modern traditions, we're reenacting ancient myths that still shape how we understand food, desire, and the rhythms of life. In Indian mythology, Food isn't merely sustenance, it's divine. One of the most profound examples of this connection is the tale of Amrit, the nectar of immortality. This story, found in the ancient Hindu texts, speaks of a cosmic event known as the Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean. In this myth, both gods, devas, and demons, asuras, united in a rare moment of cooperation to churn the ocean in search of treasures, among them Amrit, the ultimate elixir that grants immortality. This wasn't just a race for power. It was a symbolic journey to attain the essence of life itself. The myth positions food, or in this case, a divine drink, as more than survival. It becomes a key to transcendence, a gateway to eternity. This deep spiritual symbolism still echoes in Indian food culture today. Take, for example, Prasad, food offerings made to deities in temples. These aren't just symbolic snacks handed out at the end of a ritual. They are believed to be imbued with divine energy after being presented to the gods. Eating prasad is a sacred act, one that connects the human body to spiritual purity. The concept here is powerful. By consuming something that has touched the divine, the eater is not just nourished, they are blessed. In this worldview, food becomes a medium of communion between the earthly and the eternal. But mythology's influence doesn't stop in the ancient world. It lives on in modern kitchens, family gatherings, and cultural rituals across the globe. Think about the universal act of sharing a meal. When we break bread together, when we serve dishes passed down from our ancestors, we're not just feeding bodies, we're feeding stories, memories, and traditions. Whether it's the special holiday dish that only appears once a year, or the humble meal that always brings the family together on Sundays, these rituals carry a narrative weight. They bind us to our past, to each other, and to a shared sense of belonging. Even in today's fast-paced, tech-driven society, we seek meaning in food rituals. The comfort of a family recipe, the symbolism of a wedding feast, or the reverence in fasting during spiritual observances, these are modern reflections of ancient beliefs. They remind us that food has always been more than what's on the plate. It's a carrier of emotion, of memory, and of myth. Through every bite we take and every meal we share, we continue to live out the stories that once explained the world, and still give it flavor. As the sun sets over a table brimming with dishes from every corner of the world, each one rich with meaning, memory, and myth, we're reminded of a truth that often slips beneath the surface of our daily routines. Food is never just food. It is culture. It is belief. It is psychology served on a plate. The stories we've explored today, from the forbidden fruit in Eden to the sacred nectar of Amrit, from Demeter's seasonal sorrow to the shared meals that bind families, reveal that every bite carries with it a legacy. These aren't just tales of the past. They are frameworks through which we understand pleasure, guilt, celebration, and even community. We don't just eat for survival, we eat to belong, to remember, and to connect with something greater than ourselves. So, the next time you sit down to eat, whether it's a festive feast, a simple home-cooked meal, or even a solitary snack, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what stories are you feeding into your mind and body? Are you tasting tradition? Are you nourishing a memory? Are you honoring something sacred, within your culture, your family, or your own personal journey? Because food is more than fuel. It's a language of the soul, a reflection of who we are, and a bridge to where we come from. It's a narrative we write and rewrite every day. Let this understanding inspire you, not only to appreciate what's on your plate, but to recognize the invisible threads that tie you to generations past, to mythic tales, and to a shared human experience. And if these stories stirred something in you, if they made you see your dinner table in a new light, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment below. Share your food story. You never know who it might inspire next. Eat mindfully. Live mythically. Subscribe for more. If you enjoyed diving into the rich, mysterious world where mythology meets the magic of food. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and be part of our growing community of curious minds and history lovers. We've only just scratched the surface. There are so many more stories, flavors, and fascinating connections waiting to be uncovered. And I'd really love to hear from you. What myths, memories, or traditions have shaped your relationship with food? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one, and your story might just inspire a future episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep savoring the stories that shape your world.